the Barbie wants to become human. She goes, I want to do it. And she was like, okay, well, I want to show you, like, feel what it feels like to be human. And when they show all the things it looks like to be human, not one of those things was a career. It was all a woman, her daughter, her family.
As you can tell, maybe by our Barbie t-shirts, had an adventure yesterday and we went to see the Barbie movie.
We saw it. I didn't want to see it, to be honest.
I didn't want to go either. So I don't know if I told you this when I asked you if you wanted to go, but we were sitting on the couch and my husband's like, are you and Rebecca gonna go see Barbie and critique it and review it? And I was like, well, we don't have any plans to. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, I've heard enough criticism from people that I wasn't sure that it was something that I really wanted to go see. And he said, that's the very reason that you should see it. And he said that it had been especially vocally banned by Christians who had said a lot of not so nice things about it. And he said, people need to understand that sometimes before you can criticize something that you need to see it first. So he said, you need to be that voice. And so that is what we're all about.
Yeah.
So we are the voice. We went to see it yesterday.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to tell you about the experience. So, do you want to start? What was the movie about, Rebecca? Because that's what at the end of the movie, we looked at each other and went, what do you think the movie was trying to say?
And I think that was the part I was the most shocked about. And people were pretty vocal about that, where the movie felt so disjointed.
Yes.
It felt like there was no solid plot line. And there were so many, and I wouldn't even say agendas, but just plot lines that kind of would like get cut off, never reattached to anything. So truthfully, I don't know what the original intent of the plotline was.
Right.
And I don't know what the movie that came out of this whole thing, what the plotline was. So Greta Gerwig co-wrote it in like 2016. And we know that Mattel, who created Barbie, had a lot of influence in the film.
Okay.
And they wanted it to be huge. They wanted to be a blockbuster hit. Greta is known for really good movies.
Yeah.
So like Lady Bird, very deep, very thoughtful, and even her adaptation of Little Women had a lot of surprises in it where we loved it. Like I really liked like parts of Little Women. So this film felt like it was either one of the most thoughtful, like mind-bogglingly complicated films I've ever seen, maybe, or the most trash movie I've ever seen in my life. And I still, to this day right now, in this moment,
you still don't know.
I would have to talk to her to find out.
Yeah. So it's interesting to me because a couple people asked me, like, what was the movie about? Like, what do you think the agenda was? And I was like, I don't know. Like, what was it about? Yeah. Like, what was the point of the story? So it's interesting that you say that it was disjointed, because when I actually was talking to my husband about it last night and saying, well, this is what the movie was about, it's like, I did it. It's like there's a plot line all the way through. So, well, I mean, like, what was it about?
Yeah.
Like I said, it was about a stereotypical Barbie who wakes up and she goes through her stereotypical, wow, I didn't know that was such a hard word to say, stereotypical day until all of a sudden at the end of the day she has this thought about death. And everybody's like, whoa, people who live in a fake world don't die.
Yeah.
And so she has to figure out what's going on, because there becomes this break between the world of fantasy and the real world. So she has to go to the real world to connect to her person who she's supposed to be connected with in real life, who's played with her the most.
Yeah.
And when she gets there, she discovers that it's not really, spoiler alert if you guys, like, we should we're going to go in a little bit of detail. I'm not going to tell you everything, but there is a little bit of detail that you might not get from a review. So she thinks that it's going to be a little girl who plays with her, but realizes that it's an older woman who is sad because she always played with dolls with her own daughter, and now her daughter has grown up and she doesn't want to play with her, doesn't want to be with her anymore. And so the mother is kind of taking it on the doll. And that Barbie is, even though she can go out as a woman and do be a pilot or be a doctor or be whatever, at the heart of her, she's still a woman, and she still needs to be a mother or a sister or a daughter or whatever. And that's what I feel like the movie is about.
I agree. And this is where I want to know if that's because of our worldview.
Yes.
So when you're watching a movie, you're watching through your worldview, your lens.
Yes.
And that's where I'm like, either she's genius, to where, if you've noticed, she took us out, she broke the fourth wall multiple times.
Yes.
Like, there was one scene where Margot Robbie, who's stunning, was crying. And then she goes, like, I don't feel beautiful anymore. And then on the loud, speaker, it's the narrator saying, if we really wanted to prove this point, we shouldn't have hired Margot Robbie. Which was a joke, but it was meant to take us back into reality, being like, oh, I'm Rebecca, you're Reba, watching a movie.
It was genius.
And I think, okay, so is that genius? And was she doing that because she wanted you to watch it through your own lens? Because I would say this movie, tons of liberals loved it.
The one that you probably all heard about is there's this speech.
Yes.
About I am woman,
and this is women's plights, and like all those kind of things.
Yes.
And some of that was true. Like, you would leave over, you're like, man, you kind of hate men right now, right?
Yeah.
Because everything she was saying, you're like, wow, like, that sounds rough, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But then it's like, was that their agenda, or was there a higher agenda? Like, that's the part where I think the movie probably was genius. I asked my brother about it. He loves film. And he said...
you need to credit him as the film critic that we were...
He is our film critic. Yes. Lyle Lyman Leland is our film critic.
He's our expert.
He is.
He's the go-to
He really
for
is.
what we need.
He really is. He loves film, and he's like so into it. And he said Greta Gerwig is a phenomenal writer. And he said he thinks that Mattel had so much to do with the rewriting of this script, that though she is this beautiful artist, her art was then stripped down to what the movie was. So he said he doesn't think that she was really like that. She had this grand, overarching philosophy, deep movie. He thinks that it was kind of like dumbed down. Because some of the interviews with her are very interesting. Like, when she was asked what was the inspiration for for this film, the films that she says are like off the wall, like kind of crazy. Like don't quote me because I didn't watch them, but she'll say like, oh, so like Willy Wonka and like Free Willy and like random movies that you're like, wait a second, this has nothing to do with
Barbie.
So right. So I wish we could like pick her mind about it. So I thought the writing, I would never want to watch it again, to be honest. I thought it was the like most poorly written film I've ever seen.
Okay,
you liked it.
No. I agree with that. I would have called it something differently. I would have said that it was cheesy. And we watch it through our own experiences. And for me, I was a big Barbie doll fan. So honestly, many of you know I was really shy. I have a huge imagination, like huge. And so my Barbie dolls, like, lived out my fantasies, so to speak. I went to get I had a pedicure done yesterday too, and so I still had my Barbie shirt on. So I'm there, and the girl who's quite young is checking me out. She goes, "Oh, I like your T-shirt." I go, "Oh, thank you. I went to see Barbie today," and she goes, "Oh, I've seen it twice." And I said, "I cried," and she goes, "I did too."
Wow,
twice. And I'm like, that's powerful storytelling.
Yeah.
If you can make somebody who's as old as I am love this because of the emotion of what a Barbie doll meant to you, and somebody who's also like younger 20s, lower 20s, feel the same way about a movie.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think maybe I'm very much on alert when it comes to like agendas. So I'm like, I'm not going to enjoy this movie if I think there's an agenda in it. You know what I mean? So I think that took away my enjoyment of the movie.
Yeah.
I do agree that it depends on your point of view.
Yes.
And like you went in, you're like, I'm going to love this. Or no.
I don't think I thought that. I think I actually thought I wasn't going to like it, honestly.
Well, you let yourself like it.
But I let myself like it.
It
got me right away because in the very beginning, it sets the stage for your Barbies. And so if you had a connection with that, it talks about the fact of why she invented them, and that up until that time, little girls only had dolls to play with. And so all of a sudden, so the little girls are just being mothers. Whereas then you get a Barbie doll, and this new age of Barbie now gave little girls the ability to use their imagination to take it to a different level. And because that's who I am,
you're like, yes.
It got me right away. And so I think that was my trigger, because that is who I am, and that is what I did with my Barbies.
Ooh. Near the very end of the film, Barbie decides she wants to be human, and that she understands that it involves death. but she wants to feel that. And so the woman holds Barbie's hands and she goes, okay, so feel what it feels like to be human. And
she
all the
scenes,
and it's like very emotional. All the scenes that are playing are not all of these careers or all of these success stories. It's literally all pictures of a woman being happy and having daughter and having like relationships. And you're like, wait a second. So like, that's what they're saying. They're saying this is the epitome of becoming real, human and becoming real is relationships. And even like the overarching story of the mother and the daughter, all that mother wanted. Like she was working at a job. She was working at her, like, I think dream job, but she wanted and yearned for a relationship with her daughter. And that was the point. And even like the lady who created, Barbie, like she said, she did it for her daughter. And you're like, wait a second, so like, is that the message? And that's why I was kind of confused, because I'm like, this whole thing, it seemed like satire, you know, or maybe not satire, but I think, that's what confused me, because I was like, I liked the
Which is why you felt like it was disjointed.
Yes. Because I'm like, wait, what were you trying to, and that's why I wish I could just sit down.
Yeah.
I'm like, Greta, tell me, hon, what did you want me to get out of this? And I think that's maybe, so that's what I'm saying, it was either genius or like, dumb. But I love the callbacks. Yeah. I mean, I did, and I grew up with Barbie too, and I think I love Barbie, but I think I was like a little bit too guards up. I was like, "What you trying to sell me?"
So then, what are the warnings for Christians or for mothers with small children? Like, I don't know that I would tell Rebecca to
not
let
family friendly. I would literally, because there were a lot of like innuendos that I did not like.
I don't know that there were a lot of like out and out, like, ooh, this is a sexual situation, but there were a lot of innuendos, like you said, and a lot of them.
Yeah.
A couple of them were funny because it's like two dolls and they was making a point, you know?
And I wonder what a kid would even get out of it. I mean, maybe it's just so fast that I don't, you know what I mean?
And maybe it wasn't meant to have all the deep agendas that we get out of it.
And that's where we land. We land, either this is a great movie.
Yes.
Or we made it great. I don't know, you know?
And maybe that's the genius behind it.
Or the stupidity. Like, we really don't know. I don't want to give credit where credit is not due.
Oh, you know? So crazy.
Yeah.
Or maybe sometimes movies are made to just enjoy. And that's what that one was supposed to do.
But nowadays it feels like there's so many agendas. And
well, and I think that Christians came out against it so much that you feel like there needs to be an agenda, even if there wasn't one.
Even if it was satire. Like, even if they were like, ha, 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 and we're like, no, they said this. And you're like, yeah, but it was supposed to be deeper thinking. And that's why it kind of hurts my brain.
See, I can't be upset. Like, I don't, maybe you remember more of some of the things that the Christians were upset about, but I'm not even offended by the feminist stuff, because I do think that women have the ability to be brain surgeons and physicists and all these different things, but at the heart of it, she wrapped it all up into but what's really important is who you are as a woman with your relationships with your mother and your daughter and stuff. So I don't feel like it was anti-family. I thought it was brilliantly done with that, and I loved it. So I can't even be upset about that.
Because even at the end, one of the branches of what you could have gotten out of it was that idea that, oh, look, women, look what you made for yourselves. You made this, you know, girls can rule the world. Who runs the world? Girls. And how does that pan out? Where do the Kens even live? Like, that brought up. Someone goes, where do the Kens live if he's the Barbie house? And she goes, I don't know. And it's like that you can't have this idealistic you can't have both worlds. Yeah. And you can't have women running the world, but everything's fine. Yeah. And at the end, it was all about family. So and that's like another branch you could have gotten out of it. So yeah, so either watch it 10 times or never watch it. So. I don't think I would say go out and watch it personally. I would say, I think we might have a different opinion on this. Shocker, shocker. I don't think it was worth it. I don't think it was worth my time. I thought it was beautiful, but nowadays, in the 21st century, if you're not making a beautiful film, what are you doing? Like, truthfully, with all the money that put into that.
And I think it was a beautiful film. I think living in Barbie world would be paradise.
You're like, let's go.
It's like, hey, hello. Who wouldn't want to like ride your slide out of your house and land all dressed in everything?
Perfect.
Although I do like the fact that I don't have to wear high heels.
I know, I love it. She had a quote. She said, like, her feet got flat, and she goes, if my feet were actually shaped like this, I would never wear heels. And it was like,
yeah. It's so true, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think that, you know.
But you would give it a thumbs up?
Okay.
It's okay, you can. Don't feel peer pressured by me.
No, okay, so really, it's a hard question. It's a hard question. So it's like, I wouldn't give it a thumbs down, because I don't think it was bad. Mm-hmm. I don't think the message was bad. I did not get a bad message. Mm-hmm. I don't think you should take your children. Mm-hmm. I think that you have to go into it with the lens that it was not made by Christians, and so there might be some things in it that you're like, oh, why do you have to joke about that or whatever? But it's not overt. There's not a lot of it, and with the crud that we watch day to day, it's probably a lot less cruddy than a lot of the things. It's not like it's the best thing I've ever seen, so I'm not going to say, wow, this was great, go see this. But I'm not going to give it a thumbs down either.
So what are you going to do?
I think I'd give it a 6 because for me, for my generation, what it meant to me, and for the beauty of it. I mean, I cried.
Yeah.
So I'd give it a 6.
Okay. So that is our for better for worse review. I give it a 2.
Ooh, and she hated it.
That's purely on visual and on. But I did most of the work, I feel. Like, I feel like when you go to the movies, I don't want to do all the work, but I feel like I was, like, working. I was, like, making the movie good in my own brain. I don't want to do that. So I personally like it.
So interesting. Are you sure you didn't make your brain work because you knew so many people said such bad things about it?
No, I think it was literally just from the moment it started, I was like, okay, this has an agenda. What is it?
So I do think that was an important point, though. It's like, go see it for yourself before you just jump on the fact that somebody else says, oh, it's horrible, it's a whatever, it's dangerous. Like, do some research that's more than just so-and-so said before you start saying dogmatic things. And I think that's a fair
Yeah, and great conversation starter. Like, I might watch it with a group, like, later on. You know, number one, because you're paying less money, you know? Yeah, pickleball and Barbie group. And just talk about it. Be like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And I think it'd be really cool with, like, different opinions, too. Like, I would love to sit down with a liberal, watch it with her, and be like, ew, what are we thinking? You know what I mean? And it could be a great conversation starter.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
So, until then, next time you see us, we probably won't have our Barbie World t-shirts on. But thank you for joining us. And until next time, this is just me.
And me.
Talking to you
from the wings.